Welcome back to Press Review in Depth. As Turkey prepares for presidential elections in August, let's see what the press is saying. Mideast writes in our Monitor the article "Hard Choices for Erdogan as he mulls candidacy for president," saying Turkey is heading to uncharted territory of the first direct presidential elections. The article says that this will be the first time the Turkish president is elected by the public. Previously, presidents in Turkey were elected by parliament. On August 10th, a president is to be elected to a 5-year term as the result of a constitutional amendment accepted in 2007. Erdogan reportedly added that he would use his constitutional powers to the limit if elected president, even though he has not decided yet whether to run for the presidency or not. AKP deputies were apparently surprised by Erdogan's comments regarding the extent of his power based on a constitution put in place by the former junta. Many articles of the 1982 constitution remain in force today and continue to be criticised as undemocratic, despite amendments introduced under the AKP after it came to power in 2002 and by the coalition government that was in power before that. Kenan Evren was in power at that time, and Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, the leader of the main opposition Republican People's Party, was curt when responding to a question by reporters on the topic, merely saying, "We do not need a new Kenan Evren." The author adds, Devlet Bahçeli, the leader of the Nationalist Movement Party, for his part said Erdogan was dreaming of becoming president, and added he is already keen on using illegal authority should he become president. Some believe President Abdullah Gül, who is co-founder of the AKP, would take over the party leadership after Erdogan, but now there is speculation that Gül arrived at a decision not to run for president or become prime minister in order not to obstruct Erdogan's presidential path, and also not to end up in a position of having to check Erdogan once he became president. The author concludes the general assumption based on the AKP's recent success in the municipal elections is that Erdogan will win, but presidential elections based on the popular vote remain uncharted territory for Turkey. Osman Khan writes an opinion piece on the presidential election in Turkey's daily Sabah. He writes, "It is not difficult to see that this aroused curiosity far beyond the borders of Turkey." He writes, in Turkey, the presidency was designed in a way that is beyond the classical parliamentary system. The generals that issued the constitution in 1982 formed a presidential system in their own way. They thought the presidency would function as a militarist organ of tutelage. He adds the president is also the head of the National Security Council, which is another institution of tutelage. Similarly, whenever he finds it necessary, he can call the council to a meeting. Moreover, he directly chairs the ministerial cabinet in a state of emergency, and this council of ministers, headed by the president, has the right to issue decrees without being authorised by the Turkish Grand National Assembly. The author concludes, as is clearly seen, the president has the power to balance and block the parliamentary democratic will. While doing this, he bears no political responsibility. I'm now joined by Gulcin Ozkan, Professor of Economics at the University of York. Thank you for joining us, Gulcin.
Hello.
Hi, Gulcin. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So firstly, there's a lot of speculation about whether Erdogan will run for the presidential elections, and there were talk of amendments to the constitution. Do you think that he is trying to consolidate absolute power in Turkey?
That is what it seems at the moment. Although, as you suggested, there hasn't been any announcement of a candidacy yet. It's most likely that that will be the case, and it's probably going to be announced in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, I think the main issue is the dominant figure that he has been. The rules of the Constitution are such that it's not compatible. He will not be able to be the dominant president that he has in mind. So it's expected and natural that the AKP may try to change the rules, but that remains to be seen.
As I understand it, the junta put through a new constitution in 1982, which gave all powers to the president. So will this not help him to become more dominant in Turkey, to gain absolute power?
I think that has been the argument that's voiced in the pro-government media recently. That's right. The constitution gave President Evren huge powers, but since then the two, in fact now three, civil presidents acted very differently. Although Constitution allows the president to call for a cabinet meeting and other powers, in effect, it hasn't been that way in the last 3 terms.
And it's assumed, as you said, that in a couple of weeks he will announce that he is running for president. What does that mean for President Abdullah Gül and other opponents of the AKP?
I think it's foreseen. I don't think that it's going to be a surprise for either others in the AKP or to the current president. I think the critical issue is what is going to be the form of the relationship between the president, if he turns to be the president, and the new prime minister.
And what are the expectations for Prime Minister, who's in the running at the moment?
The funny thing, and in fact it's telling, that people would find it very difficult to come up with number 2 in his party. That's how dominant he has been. Clearly, if he wants to be the sort of president, the very powerful president in his own words, the one that runs and sweats, then there will need to be one that's going to be obedient. And that obviously is not an optimal position to be. And that in itself, that kind of relationship is likely to pose serious problems given the polarized nature of the Turkish climate at the moment.
And as an economist, I'd like to get your perspective on what chance you think there's any chance for economic reforms in Turkey.
I think that's one of the key aspects, in the sense that Turkey obviously has been running, as is widely known, current account deficits for a very long time. And in order to finance those deficits on an ongoing phase, you need to attract capital inflows. Capital inflows are very much dependent on the perceived political stability of a country and political climate. Since the Gezi movement, since May, the protests and the following period, the corruption scandal, the perceived nature of political stability in Turkey obviously is very different now. And that's only one aspect of it. Even if you are able to attract capital, which Turkey has been doing on the back of much higher interest rates since January, you really need a much less polarized atmosphere in order to initiate reforms, which Turkey badly needs.
Has there been less foreign investment in Turkey recently?
The foreign investment, the foreign direct, obviously you can attract 2 types of investment. One is portfolio investment that are very easily reversible, and in Turkey the vast majority of investment is portfolio investment, and increasingly so. The obviously stable sort of investment is foreign direct investment, and the stock of FDI, foreign direct investment in Turkey, is much lower as compared with other countries in its peer group.
But there was a lot of talk about Turkey being, especially given its being a country in the Middle East, being a fastly developing country with a lot of foreign investment. Do you think that Turkey's going economically downhill from here?
Turkey has a huge potential. We need to establish that first. But as compared with even 2-3 years ago, international financial conditions are very different now. Following the global financial crisis and the excess liquidity in international financial markets, Turkey, like other emerging market countries, hugely benefited from capital inflows. Now, we entered into a different phase where there has been a reversal of QE, quantitative easing, as referred to tapering, and that obviously leads to reversing of capital from countries like Turkey. And already the forecast growth is about 2-3%, much lower than what it used to be.
Thank you, Gulcin, for joining us to discuss Turkey.
Thank you very much.
That was Gulcin Ozkan, Professor of Economics at York University. For more updates, please visit levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.